live again from my porch because it's so nice out here. I'm sitting in the shade. The wind might pick up because there's thunderstorms in the area, but this is just so good for my soul. This little corner of our house where I can find some rest for my body, a little rest for my soul as I just meet here with the Lord, get a little bit of quiet work done, and talk with my friends here on a Thursday morning. Today, I have it on my heart to unpack more fully a question about not feeling like you fit in as a big family mom. Maybe you've experienced it where other people in your life, your friends, your family, your church friends, even your pastor, seem to have this almost magic number of 3 kids and they're done, or 2 kids and they're done. And the national average keeps getting lower and lower inside and outside of the church, according to like the Barna research that's been done. The national average, I'm in Canada, so it's the same in the States, is at 1.4, I think was the 2021 average of children. It's going down even more so, even through the pandemic. Lots of reasons for that, which I unpack more fully in my book. But today I just want to zoom in and unpack a little bit more. A post that someone had shared in my Big Family Moms group, just saying they feel like, because they're always taking care of a nursing baby or a napping child, they don't really fit in with anybody. People, their pastor, their friends at church, maybe your relatives, right? Your sister, your sister-in-law, whoever, all your friends, even your Christian friends. Let's be real. There can be a moment of almost envy and longing and like, why, God? Why did you lay this on my heart? Couldn't I have just remained blissfully ignorant? I mean, there was a time in my life when I was blissfully ignorant, to use that term, before I ever trusted God with family size. The first 2 years of our marriage were spent fully in control for no other reason than everybody did it. So kind of young Christian, a couple years in, and when I went to marriage counseling with our pastor at the church we were at the time, lovely church, lovely people, everybody by their unspoken example, and the overt question by our pastor was preparation for our marriage. One of them was, "How many children are you planning on having?" We didn't even blink an eyelid at the assumptions, the massive theological assumptions embedded in the question itself. So we just answered, my husband came from a family of 3, I came from a family of 4. 3 or 4 seems like a generous contribution, very sacrificial of me, but who on earth would ever have more than that? And I mean, if you've heard my story, obviously something's changed. I'm the mom of 11 now. My oldest is 17. My youngest is 6 months. And so I get it. The season of nap times in nursing, among other, just day to day, the reality, the mundane work that's involved in caring for a family, young children, and a large family at that, or as I've been told, a huge family, a huge family. It's real, and it doesn't end in 5 years or 6 years, right? If you have 3 kids, to use that magic number of 3, hang on, someone's trying to call me, then you might be done in a couple of years. The kids maybe go off to school. If you send them to some kind of away from home school, hey, would you put that on the counter for me? Thanks. Or, eventually people say, well, they're going to outgrow it, right? They'll get it at diapers, they'll wipe their own bums soon enough, and then you'll be able to join the rest of the world and do all the fun stuff where you can just hop into your 5-passenger SUV and go off to the beach, go off to the museum, and go off and do things any time of day. Join the all-day homeschool co-op or whatever it is, easy peasy lemon squeezy. But you're pregnant again. And you're in your early 40s now. Or you're looking ahead like I did in my 30s. I mean, I had baby number 5 when I turned 30, and I'm like, we're just getting cracking, right? Natural menopause probably wouldn't set in until sometime in my 40s. I mean, barring any kind of major medical circumstances or something completely unforeseeable like that. I mean, my sister had a hysterectomy, an emergency hysterectomy in her 30s. So her childbearing years came to an immediate end to save her life. So barring that, I know what it feels like to be looking ahead or sitting in the thick of it as I am now and being like having a moment of anger, frustration, guilt, longing, the whole mix. So first things first. And I'm hinting, I got 2 things for you today. First things first, So think of the dear woman who posted this in my group, but I'm going to tag you below. You know who you are. And there's so many other big family moms with like 4 kids, 5. You don't have 3 and they're like done, or 1 and done, or whatever it is, right? You have chosen, however you got there, to welcome children as a gift from God. And you understand there's work involved, right? You're not so naive as to think that this is just going to be, because you got your live-in nanny and you only have to work, 5 hours a week to make a 6-figure income or something like that. You don't live in that unrealistic world. You understand there's work involved, and there will be decades of nursing and nap time and potty training. And so that means that you might feel like you don't fit in, because you don't. You are in the world, but not of the world. So I just want to validate your feelings, first of all. Those are really understandable emotions. And God knows your emotions. He's not sitting there clucking his tongue at you and being like, no, tisk, tisk, tisk. How can you have a moment of emotions? Well, have your moment of emotions. And this dear woman who posted in the group, I'm so grateful and glad and happy and cheering for you that you shared it. Because I think it's when we bottle it all up inside and we grit our teeth and bear it, and we're like, okay, God, I'll serve you, but I'm going to hate it every step of the way. Oh, that's not his heart for us, is it? And the other extreme is to be like, oh, well, then I'll just, throw out the baby with the bathwater and just, do as all the other people do, even in my own church. And without giving it a moment's thought, I don't think that's even thinkable for you. If you're like me and you really have had a conviction that children are a blessing from the Lord, trusting him with your family size, barring major medical stuff, which is my caveat of grace, that the norm for the Christian is to welcome children as gifts. And that might mean that, yes, decades of childbearing years, but it's not like a childbearing pit stop. It's a childbearing season of life. It's your entire childbearing years. From the moment you married until the Lord closes your womb. For most women who don't experience major medical stuff, mental grade, physical stuff, that would be considered your childbearing years. And that's historically normative. And you might say, oh, it's because people didn't have access to, I don't know, birth control, right? Over the counter kind of stuff like that. So they had to go to the local herbalist or whatever, or, they just didn't know any better. We're more evolved or what have you. No, without getting into a whole talk about birth control and sort of the heart and thinking and the theology behind that, that's not it. I mean, I'm convicted that children are a blessing from the Lord. They are his gift, and that he has called Christians from his people from the moment of creation to Adam and Eve, be fruitful and multiply, fill your earth and subdue it. That wasn't metaphorical. That was literal. And there wasn't a cap. There wasn't like okay, well, in the second millennium after Christ, when we hit this, global population, and when, the politicians are giving this latest, the sky is falling messaging, then you've had enough. And then it's totally responsible economically in every other sense of the word to cap out how many kids you have. So no, you and I, you know what I'm talking about. Children are a blessing. You have a desire to embrace them, but you're looking almost like from the outside in at other people going off and living their small family life, even in your own church, and right, and they're just like, oh, do you want to volunteer with the VBS? You're like, no, I have a napper and a nurser. And you're like, and no end in sight. Feel your feelings. It's okay to talk about it, especially in a safe place like a big family moms community that I have the pleasure of hosting and administrating. So if you're not already in that group and you're like, oh, catching this for the first time on YouTube or someone else, and you would just like to be in a group of women who get you, are not going to shame you for being that crazy person, even in your own church circles, who's embraced children as a blessing and as a gift, and you have more than a minivan's worth of them, or you're on the road and you're already starting to experience pushback, and even people not saying anything, but they just don't get it, as they cluelessly are like, oh, you can't come to the beach with us with little to no notice in the middle of the afternoon? Okay, well, bye. If you have even one friend in your local scene who gets you and understands you and is like supportive and gracious with you, I mean, consider it a gift from God. Because though there are thousands of big families across the globe, and even just thinking from my Western context, there's over 2,000 women in this group alone, and 80 women joined the group yesterday. It's growing like bonkers, which is wonderful. There are a lot of big family moms, so we're finding community together. So feel your feelings, talk and connect with other moms who get you, who aren't going to shame you, and you can just have that moment to feel your feelings. The second thing is this. I have come to a place where I now see that this is not a pit stop. This is the long haul, barring major stuff that I could not possibly humanly foresee. I see welcoming children as a blessing. as gifts from the Lord with work. Of course, there's work involved. It would be naive and just delusional to say there's no work involved with nap times and nursing and toilet draining and groceries and gas and bigger vehicles. Like, yes, there's work. Let's be real and not sugarcoat it. I see this though now as a vocation. I love that word. So validate your feelings. There's V, letter V, number one, and embrace the vision of your vocation. Oh, there, three V's. I love it. Embrace the vision that the Lord has given you. You are going to feel like an outsider as you walk this road. You will. And there'll be moments when it really hits you, maybe unexpectedly, when you're like, you're doing good, and all of a sudden somebody says something without even meaning to. They just invite you to go out and like have a girls' night. And you're like, no, I'm cluster feeding at that time. And they're like, they're done, right? And they're like, oh, okay. Or they're going off to a fitness class and you're like, oh, experiencing some postpartum body image stuff. And you just feel it. Let yourself feel your feelings. Talk about it with someone you trust. If you don't have anyone in your own local circles, even your church circles, big family moms, that community is a place where you can safely talk and you're not going to get shamed. And you can find support and strategy and just even, I'm not alone. And that's also a great place and a great time as you're feeling your feelings and bring it to the Lord to recalibrate your vision. Why are you doing this in the first place? It certainly wasn't to fit in. It wasn't to win any kind of, gold stickers from God. This comes from a place of deep conviction of knowing the Lord is good. This is his design and I'm walking in it. Even when at this time in history, we can feel like outsiders, even in our own churches. Just going to call it out. It's true. And you don't have to say anything. You just have to walk into the church with your your little gaggle of ducklings coming in behind you. And people sometimes can, even on the street, someone shared with me that someone just got passed by on the street. She shared with me in our big family moms group. Someone just clucked her, total stranger, was like, got enough kids there, mom? And it's like, wow, right? But when it's in your own church and people are doing stuff, having fun, you can feel it. Recalibrate your vision. Why are you doing this? Is it as unto the Lord? I mean, it always was in the first one, because why else would anybody in their right mind have more than 3 kids, let alone more than 2, really have any children at all? My life would be so much easier if I had no children. Well, yeah, but the Lord has, blessed me to be fruitful and multiply. And I have been blessed to be trusted with 11 children earthside. And when I have moments, real moments, I give myself 5 minutes to feel it. Take it to the Lord quietly and be like, and just bring him my broken pieces, my anger, my frustration, my longing. He's okay with it. He can handle it. I mean, when you read the Psalms, David got really, really real in the Psalms, right? Even his imprecatory Psalms. So I don't call down any kind of harsh condemnation on my fellow Christian. I do get real with God and ask him to, he knows my heart. He can see if there's any wrong way within me. I ask him then to pull out the weeds that are choking out the life, plant in the truth again, to renew a right spirit within me so that I can be led to the rock that's higher than me. Because if I'm just doing this in my own strength and I'm just doing it looking from the outside at everyone else living their small family life, I run out of my own, vim and vigor really fast. So it's a great time to feel your feelings, validate them, and then recalibrate your vision by going to the Lord and just asking him to fill your cup back up again, to remind you why you're doing this as unto him and not as unto any human, right? Not as unto any, even your church community. You're not winning anything like a competition. You're no better, no worse than anybody. So why are you doing it? What's your why? And probably like me, it says unto the Lord. It always was. So when I feel it, I fix my eyes on Jesus. And I might not do it right away. Because if I stuff those feelings aside and pretend they're not real, or I almost oh, no, you can't think that, Terry. You can't have qualms. You can't have doubts or emotions or just moments, as I call them. Give yourself a moment. We do it with our kids, right? We say, hey, you look really upset. Come here. Give you a hug. I believe that's the Lord's heart towards us. As his own dearly loved, adopted children, he understands our feelings as big family moms, gives us that big hug, wipes away our tears, blow your nose, right? And then say, okay, I'm okay. I am the Lord's. He is mine. He has called me to trust him on this road. This isn't just a martyrdom calling. I used to think it would be easier to be a martyr than it would be to be a mom. And you know what? I think there's a grain of truth in that, because being a martyr and dying for Jesus is quick. It's over fast. I'm just make it quick, Lord. But being a mom could be 20 years of childbearing, just of the child. I'm going to be a mom my whole life. Always be a mom. But it's a long haul, and that takes courage. It takes conviction. And sometimes you need to re-clarify what you're doing, why you're doing it, because you won't necessarily get it from even your own church community or even your own pastor. Just gonna be honest. But you will always find abundant grace, abundant renewal, right? Abundance and abundant love in the arms of Jesus. So probably preaching to the choir, you know that. I want to encourage you. This is you. The lady I'm going to tag, just being discreet in case she didn't want to be called out, right? Because she was being very vulnerable and personal sharing. And this is going outside of the group as well in places like YouTube. It's totally okay to feel your feelings. And that's a great opportunity then to recalibrate your vision when you're ready. So just let them out and then renew your vision. We all have those moments as big family moms. So just want you to know, you're not alone. You're surrounded. You're in great company. God's got you, totally embracing you as you, in turn, embrace his blessing, his calling on your life to trust him with your family size and all of what that means, the whole journey from beginning to end. So I'm going to pop out now. I'm just going to say hi in the comments. It's a little bright, so it's kind of hard to see. Good morning, Cindy. Oh, you saw the post. Yeah, I'm going to read this. So we as big family moms are called out for a special purpose. Don't focus on others. Put your family first, and a bigger reward than being able to do the things with friends is waiting. Oh, thank you, Cindy, for those words of encouragement. It's so true, right? The Lord sees, he knows. We can take all of our stuff to him. He's not shaming us. And it's great to have community where you can share that stuff without being, well, you shouldn't have had all those children in the first place. And then you would be able to pop out with the girls and go for a fun night or a little getaway weekend. So easy peasy. It is a longer season. And I choose to trust the Lord on it, of all of what that means. And I know this, it actually does end. It just won't end in 6 years, from beginning to end. When you're embracing the blessing of children and there's no medical reason whatsoever to stop, this ideally would be the norm. All Christians everywhere would be doing this. And then we wouldn't feel like the weirdos in our own church communities, right? In our own local communities. It would be a normative thing. I think preventing the blessing of children really biblically is the exception to the rule, and that most Christians are simply ignorant. They don't know. I mean, the pastors aren't teaching them. Who would they have learned this from? It's been generationally lost. And I say this with humility. I know that there's a lot of people who are convicted just by seeing me. Just by seeing me, all my little kids coming out of the van, one after the other, after the other, after the other. I don't have to say a word. My light is shining bright. Some people are convicted. Most people are disgusted. And, that's kind of like it with the gospel, right? Though I don't see myself as, it's not equivalent of the gospel itself. But because I am a Christian, rooted and grounded in the love of God, who's been saved by God's grace, right? And as I just live a life of humility and service as unto the Lord and not unto man, I have a big family. He's blessed my womb to bear 11 children. And it convicts people on a deeper level than just, theology of welcoming children, because there's my why. They feel it. I really believe their spirit picks it up and they're just like, why would you do that? It's not because I love all the bebes and all the poo-poo and the nap-naps and all the logistics. I don't love that in and of itself. That is serving. That's the serving. That's not, and there's a lot of sacrifice in that. I don't do it for me, though I am blessed in the doing. I am being the Lord's, and he's called us to be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. And that is, I believe, absolutely, completely still in effect, the dominion mandate. So I do that with humility. I have moments where I feel my feelings, but overall, he does renew me, resharpens my vision, get my glasses back on, and then I'm able to just go about my day with dignity and not sort of feel so down and out and on the outside anymore, because it's for him, and all things are in him and through him and to him. And sometimes I just need a reminder in my soul, because I have a moment when I feel my feelings and I feel very, very human, and that's okay. So thank you so much for meeting with me. Love you lots. I will see you later in the group. Have a beautiful weekend. Gotta find my mouse here. God bless you as you trust him and see